Feels like a long day. How many, I'm very curious, are actually bot masters, wrangling bots, trying to get them into deployment, or already have had some chatbots in deployment? Can I see a show of hands very quickly? 1. That's interesting. 2, 3, 4. Okay, good. That's very good. Okay, because a year ago, we were out here talking about some of the new work we were doing, and we were inviting a lot of you to engage with us and actually start trying out some of this technology capacity and really seeing whether it's going to deliver value to your businesses. We've had, in various forms of AI, about a couple of decades, arguably, some of us have had about 3 decades worth of experience, Ian comes to mind, in deploying AI into organizations. And part of my job here is to really help you demystify AI. In other words, if a lot of you were out here saying, I haven't actually started down this journey, or I feel that maybe my organization is not yet ready to take this on, there's a lot of demystification I feel that still needs to be done, and let me just take a couple of minutes to do that right now, okay? In the 1960s, even a little bit before that, what was AI at that time? AI was a little psychiatrist, interactive chat, running inside, I believe it was Emacs. And that was AI because it was doing something cool. People actually spent hours talking to this very simple chat interaction, which was nothing more than a bunch of pre-canned responses. And it was, for some people, passing the Turing test. Okay? Then later on in the 70s, what was AI? AI was medical diagnostic systems. It was looking at whether or not you had cancer, whether or not your blood had a certain problem. And it was under a series of technologies called mycin or e-mycin. So what I'm trying to illustrate is that AI has always represented the pushing the boundary of what software could do for you. So about 10 years ago, all of a sudden, we had cloud, we had big data, we had analytics, and a lot of people say, oh, now we can do a lot more things with this. We can make recommendation engines. We can do things that you used to call smart. People used to have to do those things. And now lately, all of that data, all of that operational data is there to be mined. Originally, 30 or 40 years ago, the people that did the mining were the experts, right? You had to go to an expert, you had to interview them, you had to codify their knowledge, and then you could actually put it into a software system and hope that it does well. Those are very brittle, because the maintenance of that was very, very expensive. Now we have so much data. This is the oil of the new century, right? We have so much data that there's stuff in there, there's insight in there that we're not yet leveraging. And that's why we're now deploying some of the learning technologies we've got, some of the bot technologies that we've got, and I want to help you think through this in the certain way, okay? And that's this. There's 3 key points I want to make. One is because it's always pushing the boundary, it's always the leading, bleeding edge of what software can do, there's no more mystery to it, okay? We always apply new techniques to what data we have accessible to our software, and we call that AI. It's a poor choice of words in some respects because it then adds this air of mystery to AI, but really there isn't, okay? It's really what have people learned to do with that data, and how can it leverage your business? The second, though, is something a little bit different, okay? And that is, you want to take a learning/agile perspective to this data. So some of you who were here last year were exposed to the fact that I kind of threw up a picture of a baby last year. Do any of you remember that? And the notion was, if you're really raising a baby, you don't expect them to be adult level in their behavior on day one, right? And this is why we want to think about these bots, these AI technologies in a very similar way. So if you take a nurturing and feeding and caring and kind of a tolerant position, then you're able to think of this baby, this little chatbot that you're going to grow, to eventually deliver the kind of results that you're expecting. The other side effect of that is, don't look too hard at metrics in the early days. Because the main point that you want to get across to your organizations and to yourself is to learn how to iterate, learn how to examine the results, learn how to evaluate those, and then you learn as well as you make the system, the chatbot itself, learn. And if you do that frequently enough in short enough cycles, pretty soon you've got 20, 30, 40 cycles behind you, and it's a whole lot better than it was on day one. Okay? So toward that end, I'm going to make an invitation. But before I make that invitation, for those 3 or 4 or 5 hands that I saw that actually are wrangling bots, that are actually deploying bots or in the middle of deploying bots, are you willing, and I have 5 gift certificates here that Meenakshi handed me. So if you're willing to share with us a 1-minute summary just over here on this microphone here, that would be awesome. Because part of the value for these events is for us to learn from each other. It's not just us talking at you. We want to make sure that those conversations where you can actually learn something from either a Comcast or Land's End or any of the other customers that actually came up here are able to then learn for yourself. If you're willing to, please come up and we'll share that story. If not, let me close with this following invitation. Do I see any takers? Okay. Do we have one? All right, we got one. So, please share with us name, company, when you started this chatbot behavior, and what was surprising, what did you learn out of it?
Yes, hello, I'm Armando Ruiz, and I work for NCR out of Atlanta. So we deployed our chatbot this year. We have a Cisco UCC infrastructure, and we have ECE, which is the Cisco-branded eGain component with email and chat. Our chatbot was actually developed with a company called IPsoft. So customers log into my ncr.com portal. So we authenticate them that way. Then we know who they are. They come to the chatbot, and we have an interface with ServiceNow as well as Remedy, so they can check for cases, interact, and the chatbot actually has artificial intelligence and learns as customers ask and inquire questions. If we're not able to resolve the inquiry, then we have a click to call, so we can actually get an agent to call them back via voice, or we can transfer them via chat to an agent. That's the deployment we have now.
So just one more question, and that is, through deploying this and actually having nurtured this chat through these cycles, what was the biggest surprise that came up? What did you actually learn that you didn't actually anticipate on day one?
Well, I think the reservations for customers to interact. At the beginning, we had, I guess, a mixed response in terms of how willing they were to interact with the chatbot. But then after that, they started getting more familiarized and comfortable with it. But at the beginning, they were very much used. I mean, our most traditional channel is voice. But this was a new way for us to interact with them. So it took them a little bit of time to get comfortable that there was not a human involved in the interaction.
Okay, so thank you very much. Part of the reason I wanted to invite these people is now you have points of contact that you can actually come to and ask for experience. So here's a gift certificate. Do we have another? Okay, we have another. And you are?
Teresa Botsier.
Teresa? Okay, so name, company, how long you've been engaged in this bot, and was there a surprising lesson you learned through deploying it up till now?
My name is Teresa Bossier, and I work at Alliance Data Systems, which is a company who has over 200 clients for whom we manage their credit card services. So we have a lot of compliance issues, a lot of privacy things going on. But what we did is we brought in the 30-day AI, went through that. It was amazing. We're just on our last week right now. And what we did was, instead of using it for customer interface, we turned it internally to our associates. So when they have a question, we concentrated on 2 processes in the new application. So when people would go to a store and apply for a credit card or call in or whatever they would do through an online application. We had two processes that we followed using the virtual assistant bot, and we found excellent response so far. It was really high in the beginning, and it did fall off, but we find that about everything that we introduce to them. And I think the most surprising thing is that we saw that tenured people didn't want to use the bot. They thought they knew all of the process. So we went to the call monitoring team and said, well, gee, your performance is only 67% effective on that process. So they started using it after that.
Cool. All right, cool. Teresa from Alliance Data. Hey, Teresa, I want to give you the, Teresa, before you leave,
Yes,
I want to give you a gift certificate here.
Oh, thank you.
I don't want to miss anybody. Is there anyone else before I close? Okay, thank you very much. I have 4 other gift certificates if people would like to come. Okay, so the message is this. Because it's not magic, because it's just the next natural thing for software to take on, feel free to start now, okay? There is, in fact, a program that Teresa just referred to, which we've been extending, and it's actually been quite successful. It's called the Innovation in 30 Days. If you feel you have a real business project, a real business problem, and you can actually materially move the needle with your customers or with your agent or with the business in general, and you think that something you've heard today, particularly in some of these bot technologies or any other thing that you've heard today, come talk to one of us. Because just as you've invested in us by coming to this event and by looking at our products and spending time to learn about them, we are willing to take the risk and invest in you. So for 30 days, as long as you talk to us and give us some data to work with, we will take the risk. We will show you what we can do with that data. We can show you what results will be on the way towards some of those KPIs that you're looking for. And at the end of 30 days, if it's satisfactory, just be open to extending that engagement. I'm actually given permission to actually share with you a certain key metric for ourselves, and this is why we're so excited about this program. It turns out that 90% of you who actually take us up on this offer end up doing business with us and extending the deployment of whatever technology you were looking at. It's a fabulously successful program. That's why we feel it's not a big risk for us. It's a small risk, but as long as you come up with a real problem, we want to engage with you so that you can actually see what our product, our platform, our works can do for your business. And toward that end, there are a couple of sessions going on later on today. At 4:30, we have the Chatbot Factory. So I think we have, capacity for 20 or so? Oh, we're already overbooked, okay. We'll do another session, okay? It's really great that we're overbooked. But in that 2-hour session, you can actually work on your chatbot and actually, take it home with you. Get a start on this innovation in 30 days, okay? So my job here is to help you think through the engagement with our platform and with your business. And really what I want to do is say, lower the barrier towards trial. I hope you understand that with all of this, because we've got 30 years in the business and lots of customers with deployments now, you can see we're not just, as we were perhaps years ago, theorizing that this will be effective. We know that it's effective. And we invite you to come, engage with us, take the 30 days, just talk to us in those 30 days, and we'll show you what our platform can do. Okay? With that, I want to thank you for coming to this very intense day, and I hope you all took back at least something you can take back to your organizations, some new insight that you learned, something that you want to perhaps share with each other, and in fact share with us as well. So thank you very much. I'm closing the day. Thank you.